Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gemma. I hope you guys are doing well. So today we are building a habitat for the Nasutoceratops, and I have tried to make this fairly realistic. Some may say it's boring. I will let you guys decide once we get into the video. But we have done a Nasutoceratops habitat before here on the channel, and we have basically had the Nasutoceratops all through alpha, all through beta. And I do love them, let's be honest, and I just thought we would give them a really nice realistic looking habitat. So that's essentially what I'm going to be building today. Also, my 4-year-old son has been featured in my last 2 videos. He has really been getting involved with the commentary side of things, which I am absolutely loving. I think you guys are enjoying that as well. But he's currently downstairs, he's playing with some toys. He has absolutely wrecked my living room by tipping about, I would say about 80 trains onto the floor, and that's going to be really fun to clean up later. So he might come up and join us or not, but I do have my dog currently, Farley. He's underneath the table, so I'm not currently alone. So that's what's going on right now, and let's talk about what's actually happening on screen, shall we? So we have started off by building our habitat. We are trying to figure out all the rocks and stuff, trying to get it a little bit more realistic. So the idea of this habitat is we do have a standoff fence system. So you've got your standard fence. Some people call these lazy fences because they are the in-game ones. To be honest, I don't see it that way. I think they're totally fine to use. I would highly recommend anyone use them. Is it lazy? No, I don't honestly think it is. So if you do use them in your parks, you know, own it, girls, boys, people, non-binary pals, just own it. So the idea was, this is a super realistic habitat. Now I say the term super realistic with air quotes here because it's like art. It's really down to interpretation. I might think this is really realistic, other people might think it's boring, but hey ho, I'll let you guys decide, like I said in the comments below. So essentially this habitat is consisted of very realistic features, and I will be pointing them out as we go throughout the video. It may not be necessarily in time with what we are seeing on the screen, but these are the kind of the highlights that I think make a really good habitat. Number one would say your barriers, like what we spoke about before. So in the majority of zoos, I would say that you would have a standoff barrier for any kind of animal. It's just more realistic that way. Obviously, I have been to zoos before that just have one barrier, and I guess that depends on what kind of animal is within the habitat. So obviously the Nasutoceratops has these massive horns on them. They are a form of cattle, so to speak. But when you go into habitats that do have cattle, it's because they're quite docile animals. I wouldn't necessarily think that they would have a standoff barrier. However, because of the horns, I just decided, you know what, let's make it a little bit more safer. You don't want to be impaled by one of those bad boys. So this is why there's a standoff barrier in between the two areas. Now, the next thing that we're building here is the hard shelter. So you may be thinking, Gemma, this is the first hard shelter that you've ever built here in Lochlann, and you'd be absolutely 100% correct. And is it necessary for the animals? Well, currently in beta, I would say no, because we don't have the management side of things yet. I'm hoping there is going to be an update, hopefully before the actual release comes out, so we kind of get a bit of an indication as to what counts for the hard shelter. Obviously there has been updates throughout the monthly dev blogs to let us know what's coming up in the game, so they're still working on it, and it was indicated in the last one to let us know that what kind of counts towards your habitat rating. So there is a number of factors to consider. However, I'm not entirely sure if hard shelters are counted in them. It would be nice if they were, because it makes you think more realistically of, does this animal require a hard shelter? And then, you know, sometimes in zoos they will literally have maybe not something that is like this, which is bricks and mortar. They'll maybe just have a little lean-to at the back, so if it starts raining, then the animals can run and find some shelter. But also, I mean, let's just be realistic here. If we're talking about prehistoric times, there's going to be nobody that's going to be building a concrete hard shelter. it will be they'll run under a tree or something to find that hard shell, or go into a cave, is my thought process, however. So it's a bit questionable. Do they need a hard shell, or it's kind of up to debate and up to interpretation. But for this one, I decided I've not built a hard shelter in such a long time, and I wanted to test that out and just, you know, do something a little bit different. So this one I'm really focusing on animal welfare, looking at all the areas that realistically in zoos which they would be considering. So we have, like I said, the standoff barrier, which is very important. We've got the hard shelter here, so we've got this like massive sliding door to keep them safe, so that would slide to the left and right. And then we've also got just some staff utensils here. So we've got the hose to wipe down the habitat. We've got some hay there just to make sure that they're nice and cozy for when they're sleeping. Just these kind of little details which do add to the look and feel of your habitat. I mean, I will be totally honest that when you go off to zoos, and I don't know if this is just because of previous titles that I've played, you guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of kind of talk about, are guests going to absolutely hate seeing this kind of stuff? Are they going to be like, oh, I don't like seeing the hoses there, I don't like seeing that they've got a bucket full of manure? I mean, it's so realistic. And if I'm being honest with you, if I went to a zoo and I saw someone was mucking out a habitat, which I actually have, I've been to Edinburgh Zoo, and when we were going to the lion habitat, they were putting down fresh hay. Did I care? No, I thought it was great, because it actually shows that, you know, the keepers, the rangers, they were doing their job, and animal welfare is extremely important. So there's only so much times in the day, there's only so much hours that you get given. So if it means that they have to muck out a habitat or a hard shelter whilst the zoo or park is open, then absolutely go for it. I mean, I would rather see that than be in really horrible environments, and then you really would complain about it. So yeah, that was kind of my thought process behind it. I've not really spoken about these trees, so I have put some boulders down at the bottom of the trees. Now, what I thought about this one was, because when they're saplings, I would imagine, because the Nasutoceratops could easily just trample all over them, they could rub up against the bark or just, you know, annihilate them. And I just didn't like the thought of that. So I thought they would either have this protective casing around them while they're saplings, and then when they grow up, I thought to kind of stop them from rubbing up against the tree, they would put down some rocks to kind of prevent them from doing that. So that's essentially what I was aiming for there. And then this is me literally just putting in some enrichment items. So again, going back to the whole idea of making this a realistic habitat, and animal welfare is really important within this build. So got like a little box here to imply that it's maybe filled with some snacks and stuff for the Nasutoceratops. And then up at the back here, I'm just creating a trough. So you'll notice that there's no fresh running water throughout this habitat. For the other two, I have put in kind of like pool kind of areas, or there's been like a river running through the habitat. But for this one, I really wanted there to just be a trough that they would essentially fill that up with water, and that's essentially all the water that's going to be in this habitat, which again I think is more realistic. I hope that we do have kind of water troughs within the game, and I'm pretty sure that I have actually seen what they look like. So if I can remember, I will pop a little picture in the bottom corner of the research that I found, because I'm obsessed with this game. But yeah, I really enjoyed putting this habitat together. Lots of foliage in here, just because this habitat's, dare I say it, a little bit boring. I mean, literally trees, a couple of enrichment items, a little bit of foliage, some logs, Bob your uncle, little wee hard shelter, and that's it, essentially. And is it realistic? Like I said, I'm going to let you guys decide in the comments below, but we're about to wrap this up very shortly. I'm going to hop into our live tour part, so I'll chat to you guys very shortly. Okay friends, welcome on into the tour part of la video. So over here we have the Camarasaurus habitat. I have no idea where they are, they've probably escaped. And then over here we've got the Nasutoceratops habitat. So there is two ways to view the habitat. Obviously you can come round to the bottom section. I feel like I'm a little bit tall. Let's maybe shrink me down a little bit, there we go. So before I spoke about the hard shelter and having in, you know, items here that you would probably not want to see as a guest, but tough, essentially. It does look like a prison from this point, let's be honest. So we do have the Nasutoceratops in there at the moment, and you can view everything from the top platform as well. So I'm just going to quickly take you around here. We're going to go quickly up the stairs. Wow, that was a really fast jump as well. And we'll try and get back down to guest height as well. So like I said before, that is the Camarasaurus habitat over there. I can currently see a tail. There's one right in there. You guys probably can't see it very well, so we'll just hop through here. I'm about to do a live stream coming up, and we're going to finish off this building here because I'm desperate to finish it. So this is the part that I've never shown off before, and it is this section for our new build. So yes, as a guest you can see, I'm just trying to like indicate where the railing is here. You can see obviously the shutter door. It's debatable if this would be open and closed, and it'd be debatable again if the items would be left outside as well, but you can obviously come around this section and get right up into the very corner here and have a look down. Not a fantastic view, let's be honest, but regardless, if you wanted to be ultimately nosy, you can come in here and have a look and see if they're chilling out. So with that being said, we are just going to yeet ourselves straight off of here. Wouldn't advise it, but we are now down at the bottom, which is exactly where we need to be. So we're going to take you down around the habitat, and then we're going to get straight into it as well. I'm going to point out the janky features in my park, which I just need to do. So the pathing here, I've tried to smooth this out as much as I can. There's massive bumps. You can see it from this angle. You've got kind of like peaks and stuff. But however, the path lines up. The guests will walk on it, and it is what it is. So janky feature number one. So number two, again, I was talking about the standoff barrier. So with the horns of the Nasutoceratops, we've got one that's getting fairly close to the barrier here. That is quite close actually. So they're not going to impale the guests because of the standoff barrier section as well. And then this takes us all the way around the habitat, so you can see them all chilling out in here. There's roughly, I think, about 9 Nasutoceratops that I put in. Is it overkill? I don't know. I was just thinking because of them being compared to cattle, you know, cattle's quite big herds, so to speak. So yeah, this takes us all the way around. We'll just quickly go up to the top here so you can get a nice view of the habitat. So we're going to hop over now and straight into it, so we can see them all chilling out. Lots of logs, so we've got logs here, these trees with our protective rocks around them so they don't necessarily can get into, you know, scratch and do their thing. And then over here we've got like a little enrichment box, so again I'd imagine that this is like filled with, you know, fruits and vegetables and stuff that they can batter around and do what they need to do. Talking about enrichment items, we do have 2 enrichment items currently in this habitat. So we've got this awesome kind of chain thing that they could run into or, you know, maybe rub up against. I would also imagine that they would have some kind of rubbing post as well, so I might actually make a little series of enrichment items. However, we might be getting them in game, so it's maybe a bit redundant mentioning that, but things that I have been considering. And then down here, this is supposed to be one of those feeder balls, so essentially they would fill this up with hay or whatever that they would eat, food, and then they would like hit it and then the food would kind of just come out. This is literally a ball. So that's what that is. And then I'm just going to quickly take you very up to the top here that we can have a look at the hard shelter for our Nasutoceratops as well. There is currently a couple in here as kind of an indication. So over here we do have a little trough. I did put in one of the enrichment items in there, so that is filled with think it's fruit, only because I wanted the Nasutoceratops to come up here and interact with the trough itself. In a perfect world, I would have some water in there, but you know, can't make that up in game right now. And then, yeah, we've got some backstage area stuff. I was considering up at the top here having like this bit, you know, closed off and concreted in, and they could have a gate maybe that they would put all this stuff when they're not getting their habitat all looked after. So I might do that in a live stream as well. I'll let you guys decide as well. All my days, look at this. All that is now down on the ground. It was currently hovering in the air, and if you've ever seen Star Wars, there is a point in the movie where Rey is levitating and there's loads of rocks around her, and that's the vibe that I got from that. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you probably don't have a clue what I'm talking about, but hey ho, we are about to go inside, so that's all good and well. So currently we've got like a little drainage system, so if they were to take the hose and had to clean it out, then you know this would drain all the water away. So I've kind of made it a little bit muddy here, just to like indicate that, you know, when they are washing this out, that this bit is going to get a little bit wet. So this is, oh hello friend, this is our sliding gate here. So we do have currently one Nasutoceratops in here, so we've got plenty of room for them to move about and chill out in, and obviously they can see through as well if they get like a little bit lonely. And we've got a couple more items here just to indicate that, you know, there's this hose out here, but maybe this might not be long enough, so this is like a connector hose as well, just to get like right into the back of the habitats. Do have on the ceiling here, we've got some lights as well, just to make it a bit more realistic. I think if I was to go very highly detailed in this, I would probably put like a light switch somewhere. I was thinking about putting a sink as well, but I kind of just stopped. But yeah, that's essentially our habitat with our Nasutoceratops all chilling out in here. This one's going on the rock. I'm quite impressed with that. Parkour, my friend, parkour. So yeah, this is the location of it within our park. I'm just going to zoom out here so you can see exactly where everything is. So there we go. We've got the Nasutoceratops habitat here. Over here we have the Camarasaurus. Oh, they're all like bunched up at the top there. And then if we swing around this way, we have got the Edmontosaurus. So next time, I really want to get building and finishing maybe this section off. I also have a fantastic idea for a T-Rex habitat. Obviously, my channel being Mrs. T-Rex, and I've not done a T-Rex habitat is a bit ridiculous. So possibly we'll do a T-Rex habitat. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And if you've not checked out my Camarasaurus habitat reviewed by my 4-year-old son, then click this video here. So until next week guys, have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.